How would your life be different if you knew, if you really knew that God heard your prayers? Would it change things? If you truly knew there was a God in heaven who heard your prayers, when you pray in silence, in a secret place, in an empty room, in your bed at night, would it change things? If you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt there was someone there listening who heard you and who had the power to do something about what you asked, would that change things for you? It did for me. James was a fun guy. He was a jovial guy. He instigated most of the fun that happened on our hall in the dorm my freshman year of college. He was a lot of fun to be around. He started a whole bunch of Tecmo Bowl games. We all enjoyed being around him. I'm sure I wasn't the best example of how to witness to somebody, but I took every opportunity I could to witness to him and tell him about Jesus. I wanted him to know God like I did. And the more I witnessed to him, the more he seemed to push me away. In fact, I went an entire month without seeing him, and he lived directly across the hall from me in the dorm. I don't know if there's a right way to witness to somebody, but I know a wrong way when I see it. I'm not necessarily the best person to advertise how to witness to people, but I was probably a bit overbearing with James. So I don't blame him for ignoring me, but at that point I didn't know what else to do. If I can't witness to him, who else is going to? How can I share the good news if I can't even get in touch with him, if he ignores me, if he avoids me? I knew he was in his room. I'd knock on his door, and he'd completely ignore me. So I did the only other thing I knew to do. I prayed. I decided I was going to pray for James the best way I knew how. I was going to give the Lord the best part of my day. From noon to 1 every day, I decided I was going to pray for James that he would come to know Jesus. And that's what I did. I prayed every day for several weeks. Almost immediately, I had this thought. I don't know why I thought it, but I decided to pray it. It was a bold prayer. It was a very specific prayer, but I prayed it nonetheless. I asked the Lord that for 2 weeks, James would meet nobody on campus except Christians. That every single person that he came in contact with over the next 2 weeks would be a Christian, and that they would all tell him about Jesus. One day as I was walking back into my dorm room, I saw James walking from the opposite end of the hall. And, I knew that I was irritating to him a month before, but it had been an entire month since I'd seen him. But I decided not to say anything, and I just opened the door to my room and I walked in. As I turned to close the door to my room, I noticed that he was standing in it. He let himself in, he walked in and he sat down on my bed, and he just looked up at me with these very different eyes. And he said, "Darren, the craziest thing has happened over the last 2 weeks." He sat there as he told me that for 2 weeks straight, every single person he would meet on campus was a Christian. Every single one. He said he tried to find people that weren't Christian. He said he went out of his way to find people. He said every single person he would meet was a believer. And he said every single one of them witnessed to him. And as he sat there on my bed, he looked up at me and he said, "Darren, I just wanted to let you know that I gave my life to Jesus. I committed my life to Christ. And I wanted to let you know because you had been witnessing to me. and I'm sorry I've been avoiding you, but I'm a Christian now. That changed me forever. The fact that the Lord heard my prayer. He heard it word for word, and it mattered to him, and he answered it word for word. What would it mean to you if you knew that the Lord heard your prayers? Would it change your life? It did mine. And I know that it can change yours. I want to encourage you to ask the Lord for bold prayers, specific prayers. It doesn't mean that he'll always answer them. I've asked the Lord for a lot of specific things that he hasn't answered. But that one prayer, and that one answered prayer, in the specific way that I prayed it, it's caused me to do that so many times. And although most of the time the Lord doesn't answer that specifically, he's done it a lot. And just like in basketball, you make 0% of the shots that you don't take. The Lord answers 0% of the prayers you don't ask. If you ask, the Lord will answer. The more you ask, the more the Lord will answer. The more you ask, the more the Lord will speak. So if this has been encouraging to you, click subscribe. I've got a lot more of these stories to tell. If you've got any thoughts or comments or questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll reply to as many of you as I can. I'd love to engage with you. And with that, I'll see you next time. One fun thing about Texas A&M University is that all of our mascots, named Reveille, they're all buried right here, the ones that have passed away. She's the First Lady of Texas A&M. She's a beautiful Border Collie, and she loves to always keep track of how the Aggies are doing during football games, so they built her own scoreboard. Isn't A&M fun?